Hello, and today we're doing an FPL review of Game Week 24. That's right, it was the double game week, and we're going to reflect on how we did, the decisions we made, and the transfers we made. So we made one free transfer this week. We thought it was going to do absolute wonders because it was bringing in a double game week player, and that player was Ben Mee. And I did that on the 12th of February. Me in and Kilman out. And I thought there was no need for hits this week. Let's go with that. And I had my starting 11, the goalkeeper, Mendy, then the back three, me, Diaz, Stones, the midfield, Grealish, Salah, Gundogan, Rodriguez, Fernandez, and then the front two, Antonio and Bamford. Now, it changed quite a bit from that by the end of the game week due to auto subs, but we're going to go through all of that and we're going to review game week 24 in a second. So, how many points did we get? Let's finally get to it. It was, for game week 24, 83. Meh. I mean, I think earlier on in the season, I would say I'm really happy with that. That's a really good score. But in a double game week, you want to be getting really, really good. And there was the odd person that even hit the 100 mark this week, but not me. And when you look at the frustrations in this team, I could have got so much more. I really could have got so much more. So it was one of those game weeks, if only. And that's what I'm thinking right now. The injuries is massively hurting me right now. Like, the FPL gods are just not helping me out. And things seem to be stacking up against us. But we're going to keep on determining, keep on pushing. The season isn't over yet. There's still a long way to go. And it does feel right now that this team is beyond help. But we are going to get there. And we just got to keep on believing. So this is my Game Week 24 review. 83 is all right. But, you know, it just didn't really feel like a double game week at all. Because of the fact that so many players turned into single game week, assets. It was like, I brought in Ben Mee. What does he do? He goes and gets concussed, so he can't play the second game. Then I have Diaz starting. What does it happen? Well, he can't play the first game, so then he only plays the second game. And then he doesn't even get the clean sheet in the second game. Outrageous. And then you've got people like Rodriguez. He didn't even turn up in the first game against Fulham, did nothing, then got subbed off, and then the second game, doesn't start the second game and gets subbed on when it's, a lost cause. And 3 points over 2 games is just absolutely dreadful. So, it really was one of those terrible game weeks you just don't want to reflect on. But thank goodness that Ruben Diaz did actually play that second game, because then my -1 defender for points this week of Stuart Dallas would have come in, and that would have been absolutely nightmarish, but it was still not ideal at all. So basically, yeah, it's a red arrow. That's the main headline. It's a red arrow, which is disappointing, and it's a red arrow of 11k. We were, before this game week, at 244,089, and we're down to 255,581. Now, if you had seen my rank a couple of days into the game week, because obviously it was a long game week, it was over about 5 days. If you'd have seen it, it was about 200 and... Or maybe it was even... Yeah, it was even worse than that. It was like 325k rank. So we've at least jumped up from that, but it's still a red arrow considering where we were after game week 23. And I suppose the only consolation of this week is that at least I beat number 1 in the world. And you're thinking, who is that number 1 in the world? It is, in fact, of course, Ola Hovde, the Norwegian international, who's getting much acclaim for his team, Rett I Lomma. Well, he didn't have a good week this week. And, I sympathise with him because I had a few of his players. He captained Ben Mee, a player who I brought in this week, who only played 1 game, of course. 12 points for a captain. Not ideal for a double game week. Although he did do the thing that I was going to do before I got Ben Mee, and that's bring in Ben Lowton. Ben Lowton, I've just combined. It's a hybrid between Ben Mee and Lowton. No, Matthew Lowton. because I was so close to getting him because he was the cheaper option. He would have afforded me to get a better forward and get someone like Watkins in as well and get a better midfielder. So it just made sense to save the money. And I was going to get Lowton, and then I thought, nah, bend me. And I absolutely kicking myself for it. It's got to be said. What a goal it was against Palace and 3 bonuses. Fair play. 17 points. And when you look at his team, he's still done fairly well this week, but by the number one in the world standards, it's not ideal. He had Mendy in goal, who didn't play, of course, and he didn't even have a backup. Unlike me, I had the legend that is Sanchez coming off the bench. But yeah, no goalkeeper for the number one in the world. He also had, of course, Jack Grealish, which I do, who really did frustrate in that game against Brighton. But it's still Jack Grealish. He's still their talisman. He can do better, and he's been pretty consistent this season. So a couple of games where he doesn't score is not the end of the world, or he doesn't assist. But generally, he's a good asset to have. And then fair play to Ola Hovda. 15 points from Bernardo Silva. Not many people own him, mainly due to the Pep Roulette. But recently, Bernardo's been getting his chance, and it was brilliant on Wednesday night how he just dominated that game. 2 goals and an assist, or was it 1 goal? I think it was 1 and an assist. And then, of course, Patrick Bamford up front. But let's talk back about my team, because ultimately I outscored him by 3 points. So it's more important, even though I'm not number one in the world. But the point is, it's just a frustrating week. And it's just, why didn't I captain Ilkay Gundogan? I was going to do it. He was my vice captain. And I said in my FPL preview, I was like, you know what? The way FPL works, you're going to dilly-dally between 2 captaincies. And whatever one you do is always going to be the wrong one. And it so nearly wasn't. Because if Fernandes had just scored 1 more goal against West Brom and got himself at least a 19-point haul like Gundogan did, then maybe, because Gundogan didn't play that second game, he outscored him with bonuses. You never know. So it was so close. But in the end, as captain, Bruno scored just actually less as much as Gundogan did without captain points doubling it. So frustrating. I was so close to captaining Gundogan. And I think I just thought, well, Pep Roulette. But actually, when he's in that form, and despite the fixtures, you still have to captain him. I mean, it would have meant I wouldn't have got an amazing week, but it might have been a green arrow. You never know. It could have meant a green arrow, because it's an extra 19 points to my score. But ultimately, at least Bruno did return. It's just, despite only having 1 game, Gundogan was just absolutely amazing. He, of course, got the groin injury, which ruled him out of the game at Everton. But it's just a frustrating one. But anyway, captaincy this season, we just never seem to get right at this point. So we move on. We take it on chin and we just try and dust ourselves down. Now, let's go player by player now. And this guy, Robert Sanchez, is an absolute clean sheet machine. He is absolutely brilliant. I did not expect at all a clean sheet against Villa. Hence why I started Edouard Mendy against Newcastle. Now, the only frustrating thing is, I'm sure that Mendy goes and gets, just like Kepa did, about 9 points against Newcastle, because he's been in form. Chelsea have been keeping clean sheets. Newcastle, not much of a threat going forward, but they'll at least have a go and have shots away for Mendy to save. So we could easily have got more than Sanchez if Mendy had played. So it's a bit frustrating there, Thomas Tuchel. Just leave it out. Why didn't you play Mendy? But ultimately, in another scenario, in another universe, what if Mendy had played and conceded against Newcastle, and then I would have had Sanchez just sitting on my bench with a clean sheet? So ultimately, Sanchez, you've done the right thing, mate. You just knew that Mendy wouldn't play. But no, generally, Sanchez is just such a great goalkeeper, so underrated. And Brighton, they're just looking like a new team in defence. They're absolutely solid this season. Certainly the last 10 or so games, maybe before that not so much. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So he did help me out there. Did the goalkeeper after Mendy's surprise drop from the team, and then Ruben Diaz. you're a bit frustrating, mate. I mean, fair play. You know, you were injured. You couldn't do a lot about it. But a lot of people were saying that Ruben Diaz was going to be back for that game that was against Tottenham. And if I'd have known that he wasn't going to play, of course I wouldn't play him because I thought he had 2 games. So that's really frustrating. Obviously, I would have played Cresswell instead over Diaz if I'd have known that. Sorry, not noon. Or equally, I would have, just played Calvert-Lewin. I don't know. I don't even know. But the point is, no, I wouldn't have played Calvert-Lewin because we knew he was injured. But with Diaz, I was expecting 2 games. Didn't happen. And then even in the game he did play, goes and gets 2 points, which is just not enough. And the thing about that Everton goal, it's the jammiest goal you'll ever see. It literally bounces off like the thigh of Richarlison, and he just happens to be in the right place at the right time to just trickle it over the line. I mean, that is just a terrible goal. Everton fans won't care, but it's a bit of a hard one to take for my fantasy. So, yeah, 6 points from Sanchez, love it, but not the clean sheet for Diaz, just the 2 points, and it's a bit of an annoying one. And then Cresswell. Absolute legend of this team. This guy is literally Superman come to save the day because he was on my bench, and the reason I had him first on my bench was because there was talk about maybe Antonio not playing or Diaz not playing, but I thought if there's anyone to come in with a fixture against Sheffield United, it has to be Cresswell. Ultimately, I didn't think that DCL would come back in time, and he didn't. And also, I didn't see Dallas getting many points against Arsenal. It's a tough game. So, yeah, that was my thinking, and it worked. It really did work. I'm glad, though, that actually Antonio didn't play because, I don't know, Antonio's just not been on his usual self recently with injury. But in terms of if he was fit, even then, he probably wouldn't have been 100% and then probably wouldn't have scored. So, it was perfect that he didn't. So, Cresswell could come in. And a 12-pointer for a defender. This guy is one of the high-scoring, if not the high-scoring defender in FPL, and he just delivers every week. And actually, Cresswell, he comes off the bench and does that, but at one point in the week, I was starting him, and my captaincy was on him. I'm not even joking. Genuinely, at one point in the week, that was the case. So that just blows your mind. Imagine if we'd have captained him. I mean, he would have been better than Bruno Fernandes, 24 points compared to 18, but I don't think many people are bold and brave enough to captain defenders. Fair play if you are, but I just don't like it. It's too risky. This week, though, obviously in hindsight, it would have been nice, but it's what it is, Bruno, obviously, as a captain, wasn't a disaster. He still got 18 points. But, with him returning, it was a great goal. I just needed that second goal, and it was an absolute stab to the heart, really, because I was just watching that West Brom game. Come on, another Bruno goal. Penalty. That's what we want. And I just needed 2 goals from Bruno and 3 bonuses, and we were good. We were on a steady course for redemption. And then I see that Bruno is about to get a penalty, and he doesn't. He doesn't because the penalty shout from Harry Maguire was rejected, and that was just pain. I was just like, give the penalty to him. Come on. Allow it. But it didn't happen. I didn't get my 2 goals. I kind of needed them. But just the 1 from Bruno. So it is what it is. Rodriguez, mate, I'm just not happy with you at all. Thoroughly disappointed. And generally, my team is just suffering a bit of an injury crisis. But what can we do? It would have been better, of course. 11 points better off if I'd have gone with Lowton and stuck with my gut other than me, but at least we did beat the average this week, which was for a double game week fairly low because it was a tough one for many with the injuries and the lack of double game week fixtures for some players, but we beat the average of 61. We got 83 ourselves, and we at least surpassed the 60-point mark. We go again in week 25. That's simple as that, really, but it's just so frustrating, and obviously when you bring in a player for a transfer, you want them to do well, and to get injured in that first game, it was a nightmare for Ben Mee, and I was absolutely just so sad. He didn't get a clean sheet Fulham against Fulham Burnley anyway, but he probably might have scored a header, I don't know, but just 6 points. I mean, 6 points was really all I was looking for against Palace, but you just want that second game. That's why I brought him in. And he's got a nice fixture next week against West Brom, but after that, I'll probably have to ship him out again because his fixtures aren't exactly ideal. So I did bring him in for these 3 games, but now it's turned into 2 because it's only been the game against Palace and now hopefully the West Brom game. He should be back in time, I think. But 6 points, you know, it is what it is. Also 6 for John Stones. He just keeps on getting clean sheets, but didn't get played against Everton, which was a surprising one. But ultimately, at least Ruben Diaz was able to play that game. So we spread the points about for our 2 centre-backs, but ultimately it's disappointing to not see both your Man City defenders get double fixtures. And then the midfield, it was decent, but there were 2 culprits that let me down. I've already said about Rodriguez and Jack Grealish. Brighton defensively are looking better. Villa are still a threat going forward, but just didn't have a lot in the game, did Jack Grealish, and it's a 2-pointer for him, 3-pointer for Rodriguez. But then, Mo Salah, what a legend, gets the goal against Leicester. Now, Liverpool have been actually pretty bad this season, but Salah still scores. He doesn't care, and it was a really nice goal. What an assist from Firmino. Absolutely, you know, audacious assist there. But he just curls it into the corner. And you just hope for a bit more explosive scores from Salah. But it's a goal. He ticks along. 7 points. And then it's the man, the myth, the legend, Bruno Fernandes. And I was just thinking in that first half, this wasn't going to be the game for him to score. But then out of nothing, he produces a moment of magic. What a volley. But it's 18 points. And I was absolutely fuming at the end of the game. Because he was literally so deserving of 3 bonuses. And for some odd reason, at the last second, Luke Shaw gets awarded the 3 bonuses and takes away, so it's only 2 bonuses for Bruno. Like, leave it out, man. Whoever decided that bonus point, just leave it out. Simple as that. And then the absolute god of this team, for every team that has him, it's Ilkay Gundogan. What form he's been in. I mean, he sat down Davinson Sanchez for the second goal. For the first one, just a bit of a toe punt, but you know he's so good because he's just the fox in the box, and he's absolutely brilliant. He can score against anyone. 19 points against Spurs, 13 against Liverpool. He doesn't care who he plays. Ultimately, though, it's been a bit of a shot up in form for his career. He's not been like this in the past, so will he keep it going? Who knows? And now that KDB is just starting to get back. He was on the bench against Everton. Who knows if he will be sacrificed? I don't know, but maybe he gets sacrificed for my team because, let's be honest, we want the big guns, KDB, back in, not too distant future. And then finally, we wrap it up with Patrick Bamford, 2-pointer. He blanks, and it was Arsenal. So, on the one hand, you can say they're a great team, Leeds, and they should always be threatening against Arsenal, especially how this season they've had a lot of disciplinary problems, have the Gunners, and yeah, you just hope that would be high scoring. Well, it wasn't in the first fixture, 0-0. It was this fixture, but Bamford just couldn't do anything. And I get that he's a good player, but you know, it's a shame. But ultimately, you know, Leeds weren't really on their game, and I'm sure they'll be back to their best the next week. And then on the bench, Mendy, 0 points, obviously didn't play. Antonio didn't play. Calvert-Lewin, 0 points, didn't play against Man City. And then -1, Dallas. So I definitely had the right players playing and the right players on the bench. But it wraps up what was a decent game week, but a frustrating one in summary. So hopefully I'll come back better. I'll come back stronger in Game Week 25. But that's my review. I hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video. And if you haven't already noticed, which you should have done, I'm wearing a Watford shirt, and that's because we're about to do championship predictions for matchday 31. Get watching that very, very soon. But like and comment, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.